The final trailer for Poppy Playtime Chapter 4 is here, and it brought tons of new lore and secrets for us to theorize over. By far the biggest twist in this trailer was the reveal of the brand new character Doey the Doughman. Now this character is very strange. Not only is he very different to all the other Bigger Bodies experiments we've seen so far, but we know almost nothing about this mysterious figure. But after watching this trailer quite a few times now, I think that this trailer contains all the clues we need to figure out exactly who Doey the Doughman is. I think I might have figured out which staff member was transformed into Doey, and there is actually a lot of evidence for this one. So throughout this trailer we can see that a bunch of this colourful material has been left around in several areas, leaving a trail of breadcrumbs. That's kind of ironic since we know it's actually dough left behind by Doey. Get it? Breadcrumbs? Dough? But right at the end of the trailer, the spot usually reserved for the reveal of the main villain of the chapter, we see Doey drop down, transform in front of our eyes, and then, very menacingly, offer his hand out to help us. Yeah, it seems like Doey might actually be the new ally that Mob have been teasing for quite a while now. But there is another big reference to Doey and his friendly nature in the trailer. In my last video I talked about this picture and how it appeared to show Doey protecting the smiling critters from the red smoke, the gas that we now know causes hallucinations. Yes, I know there is also a Bonzo and a Bron here, but that's not the part that I am interested in today. In fact, between this picture and this final scene, I think we have all the clues we need to figure out exactly who Doey the Doughman is. My first clue was found tucked away in this image. It might be easy to overlook since there is a lot going on here between the main image and the Poppy, but down near the bottom someone has played a few games of noughts and crosses. Now that's not really anything out of the ordinary. There were lots of children here and this is a pretty easy game for them to play. Except this is not the first time we have seen that someone in the factory likes to play this game. All the way back in chapter 2 we found that someone else had a fondness of noughts and crosses, or tic-tac-toe, whichever you want to call it. In the rejected toy room you can find that someone had played a few games of it on the wall here. Now this wasn't an area where children were allowed, so we can confidently say that this was staff that were playing it here. So this is the first link. Perhaps Doey was this same staff member and he's still playing his favourite game all these years later. Okay, but sure, lots of people like this game, so maybe you aren't convinced that this is the same person. Except, taking a closer look, there is some pretty strong evidence. Not only did this person like this game, but they were very good at it. You can see that whoever was playing as X won both of these games. The person playing noughts even realized that they couldn't win in the third game, and then they even tried to cheat, getting a laugh out of their opponent. So this person plays this game a lot, and they're good at it. Well, take a look at these ones. The player playing noughts this time wins every time as well. But not only do they win, but they use the exact same opening move as this person. They've just changed sides this time, which could be a cheeky little reference to how they themselves have changed. So if this staff member and pro tic-tac-toe player is Doey, well then who are they? I think the answer is actually kind of obvious. The first set of games were found on Playtime Co. company paper attached to a wall in the rejected toy room. Knowing how strict Playtime Co. were, I highly doubt this was allowed. So whoever this person was, they showed a clear disregard for the rules of the company. This person was somebody who likely had a bit of a grudge against Playtime Co. Well, there is one person who fits this description. Rich. Remember, Rich was demoted to the Misfit Toy section after he lodged several complaints with the company, something he was not too pleased about. We learned this from one of his VHS tapes, the one right next to these game sheets. Now it's strongly suggested that this room had only one member of staff at a time. Rich talks about talking to himself, and with all the Playtime Co. budget cuts, I'd be surprised if the reject toys were a priority for the company. In fact, I doubt anyone even checked on this place very often, which is how these staff got away with playing this game. It's actually kind of cute. I think these two staff were probably playing these games across their shifts, each one making one move and leaving it for the next shift member to find. But these VHS tapes contain even more clues that Rich could be Doey. Rich has had a VHS tape in every chapter so far, marking him as an important character alongside the scientist and Stella Graber. In chapter 1, Rich's VHS tape was the Yellow Claw, where he complained about the disarray of the warehouse.
Nobody in this stupid company knows what they're doing. Oh, I swear I haven't seen a single box in its place since they started flooding the storehouse with orphanage junk.
and he complained about the lack of maintenance, something that he was pretty correct to complain about. In this tape, we also learn that he has a temper. This is something that we see again in his tape in chapter 2. That tape has him angrily complaining about his demotion.
Well, it finally happened. After years of being ignored, the company actually heard all my complaints. Yep, they listened to them very carefully. And I guess my words must have really inspired them to take action. Because the next day I got demoted down here to the freaking island of misfit toys!
But we also see that Rich really does care about the orphans despite his anger. He calms down when his co-worker reminds him of why all of those boxes are there. This is reinforced in chapter 3, where we once again hear Rich, this time having a conversation with a superior. Rich shows his temper once again, this time taking it out on the elevator. The man named Stu talks about how deep down Rich is a good man, and he acts surprised when Rich apologizes for getting agitated about how awful the play care is. Rich explains that he's trying to control his temper for his wife. She describes him as a lovely man, and Stu clearly sees the good in him too, so much so that he's thinking about offering his job role to Rich when he retires. So Rich has been shown to be one of the staff that truly does care for the orphans. Despite his temper, despite his flaws, he wants what's best for them. He sees the play care for what it is, and he wants better for them. This could absolutely fit with what we see of Doey. He looks like he's trying his best to protect the toys, which we know many of them were orphans at one point. But there are massive, obvious clues that this is the case. Rich's first tape was a yellow claw in the shape of a hand. Doey reaches out to us at the end of the trailer with his yellow hand. Rich's second tape showed us Sir Poops-a-Lot, a rejected toy that was probably designed by him as yet another dig at Playtime Co. But look more closely, he's wearing a small hat. Doey too is wearing a small hat. I said in my last video that it seems odd that Doey was the final character to be revealed before chapter 4. The last character to get the spotlight has always been the main villain of the chapter. But Doey looks like he's trying to help us. So is he our ally or is he our enemy? Well, I think the evidence suggests that Doey will indeed become our enemy before the chapter is done. First of all, every single villain in Poppy Playtime so far has had two personalities, or two sets of behaviors. Huggy and Mommy both played with us before turning aggressive later on. Catnap spared us and only followed us around as we were given several warnings to leave, only turning aggressive towards us near the end of the chapter. So by this logic, Doey too could start off as an ally, but turn later. Something that I still think is going to happen with Poppy. This could make total sense if Doey is indeed Rich. He helps us now, but once he learns that we used to be one of the scientists, that we took part in the experiments that harmed the orphans, well, that famous Richie temper might come spilling out. The theme of Doey could also be a huge clue. Doey is made of children's dough. He can completely change his shape. He is malleable, adaptable. Rich has shown to be all of these things. We have seen him work all over the factory, and not once was he fired. Rich always adapts to his new environment. He might not like it, but he too is malleable and adaptable. But I think we might have even been given a clue as to how we are going to fight Doey. In my last video, I talked about the new gas that we saw in the trailer. This gas is blue and is shown to counteract the red smoke. Well, if it's blue, then perhaps it's very cold. Perhaps we will use this to freeze Doey. I mean, if we do have to fight him, we won't be able to cut or squash him like we did with Mommy. Doey has the potential to be a terrifying enemy, since his body can lose plenty of dough and he keeps on walking. I'm calling it now, we're gonna have to freeze his body and smash that hat. Like you should smash the like button if you're enjoying the video. Either way, I think Rich being Doey makes perfect sense. Mob did say there was a character they've been wanting to reveal for a long time, so perhaps this is that character. All we need to know now is why did he get transformed into Doey? Was this a punishment, or did he make the choice? We really don't have to wait long to find this one out now. I cannot wait to get my hands on the chapter to see what's in store for us. Don't forget to subscribe if you like the video so you don't miss all my chapter 4 content when it drops. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.